So here we are, episode 19 of the Two Russells podcast.
We're nearly at that magic 20, aren't we?
Oh, and I enjoyed the last podcast, Russell. It was all about you.
Well, I like everything to be all about me, as you well know. So I just can't... People would be surprised it took to get to 18 episodes for me to talk about me.
Well,
really.
you tried everyone, didn't you? But I thought it was great and loved hearing about your journey. And since then, you've been on another journey, off to Miami. What was going on out there?
Yeah, I went to a property conference there and spoke in front of some international realtors, I think is what they're called internationally. So, there for 4 days and now, yes, back with a bang.
And I loved looking on Instagram. I don't know if everyone else saw it. Because it was right in the middle of the election. So you're on this highway talking to a Trump fan and talking to a Harris fan, and they're like megaphones in the middle of the highway.
Get this, I know what some people think of me. I mean, even as I drove along and I saw, because it wasn't just the fact that there were some Trump supporters. Next to the Trump supporters were a load of Harris supporters, and they were about, 20 feet away from each other, and they're kind of waving at the crowds, the cars going past, and, all the horns are tooting, all the truck drivers are getting really kind of animated. And I thought, I've just got to stop and talk to them. This dynamic is not something you see in Britain. And I literally, as I'm driving, I thought, no, I can't. I've got to stop myself doing this stuff. And I thought, no, sod it. So I just turned around, went back, stopped to speak to them, just to find out why the Americans are so passionate about politics, because they really wear it on their sleeves. So look, it was a great trip. Even more interesting for stuff like that.
But back to the day job, back to the Two Russells podcast.
Back to this.
And today we're joined by Ev Foster from KW Scotland. So hi, Ev. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Excuse my voice that's going slightly. I'll try and get through it. You came on in touch with Russell, didn't you, regarding talking about Scotland? Why are we always talking about United Kingdom as in London and around that area? Let's talk about Scotland as a market. So we're delighted to dig in to KW Scotland, and obviously KW, a business you know a little bit about, Russell.
Yeah, and I mean, some might be surprised to know that people actually buy and sell houses in Scotland, Ev. Can you?
And they do it probably in a better way than down here in a lot of ways.
Well, your system's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
So your legal system, maybe we can get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But so let's talk to us about, should we talk about Ev's journey first?
Yes.
I like the journey. So we'll get onto the KW Scotland bit. Obviously, you want to do your promotional bit, I'm sure. But let's talk about Ev, shall we, in terms of kind of where you've come from, what your journey's been, how long you've been an agent and so on. So where does it all start?
Well, it starts back early 90s. I got my first kind of role in
Is that
estate
when you were born,
agency.
early 90s?
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say, if you go back to childhood, we could be here for about 3 hours. So we'll just
Let's go back to childhood.
No.
Where were you born and where did you grow
I was
up?
born on the south side of Glasgow.
Okay. Rough area?
No, it was okay. It was all right. Dad,
Why do I just assume that all parts of Glasgow are
Okay.
rough?
I know, it's a nice area actually. Dad worked for the railway for 40 years. Mum was stay at home. They used to say to me, they don't know where my kind of spirit and my, let's say, not so conformist side came from. We don't know. But,
And no property background in the family?
No property and no business background actually either. So when I came along, it was kind of breaking the mould of what, I left school, I became a nurse.
Did you?
That was, yeah, it wasn't for me. It was too...
Too compassionate?
No. That's a side of me that is in abundance.
Joking, Ev,
yes,
joking.
but it was it was the hierarchy and the kind of just the whole system of it. And actually, what happened was
Sounds like some estate agents.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. It's actually funny because it wasn't about the patient. It was about the hierarchy.
So what do you mean, the bureaucracy, you mean?
Bureaucracy, yeah. And I used to get into trouble for talking too much to the patient.
I can't imagine
and
that.
I can't imagine why, But so fast forward, I thought, no, this isn't for me. And
So how long did you stick it out as a nurse?
I would train for 18 months.
Right.
Okay.
And I left and I went into insurance. I went into sales and marketing. And I went through to Edinburgh. I got put through there as the first trainee sales consultant for Scottish Mutual, as it was in those days. So that again was kind of like 19 years old, and well, hey, here I am, this weedy lass who's gone to Edinburgh, and the branch manager didn't know what to do with me, didn't invite me to things because it was golf. It was
Really, what a real male-dominated thing.
Yeah, it was
Really?
real ale pubs.
Yeah.
So one by one, I kind of broke down a lot of barriers and got invited to things because I was one of the guys, So
Did you have to use sharp elbows to make bosses and your peers realise that hang on, there's a bit of equality that should be going on here. I can sell stuff too. I can drink in a pub, for instance.
Yeah, not my peers so much. The management again. So the peers were okay with it. I was one of the boys.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of the clients that we had to deal with, didn't quite see it that way, and I was propositioned a couple of times
really?
as to
me.
as to how to get business, and and I bet that's just a part of my life at that point. I don't really focus on that very much. It taught me a lot of things over the next few years, and then I came back to Glasgow, and I went to work for an estate agent, high street local estate agent.
But why? Why estate agency?
Because
Because most people fall into agency as an almost
Yeah.
an accidental career. Is that
Yeah.
what you think happened to you?
Well, no, I was on the mortgage side, so I was a mortgage advisor.
Right.
And
with
at
the
that point-
insurance.
Yeah. So I then went in, I joined a estate agency. I saw an advert for a mortgage advisor within an estate agency office, and I went for it, got it. And then the estate agency side of it really began to kind of spark my interest. And that was, before portals, before, to
The
me,
old
it was
newspapers.
proper estate agency.
So old school.
Right.
And was it an
Old school.
independent or a corporate?
Yeah, it was independent, yeah. Unfortunately, no longer there, but it was independent. We knew our clients. We had to make phone calls because nobody, funnily enough, there wasn't the portals.
So there's some terms actually that we would know, right? Because we're all of a certain age.
Yeah.
Things like ring outs,
Yeah.
Phone out, hot box.
phones, hot boxes, send out. I mean, stuff like that just doesn't get talked about in agency anymore, does it?
Croy machines. No one ever knows what a Croy machine is when I talk about those.
Yeah. Folding
They're
machines.
doing the window cards.
Cards. I said that to somebody the other day, and they just looked T-card.
I mean,
It was on the wall.
Yeah.
and that's
The
where
amount
you
of
wrote
people
down.
that would come in and say, "Can I go on your mailing list, please?" I mean, that
Yeah.
was the thing that was said all the time. It just doesn't happen anymore, does it?
The things I tell my children they can't believe who work in property is that we used to smoke at our desks.
Yeah, I remember that.
You'd be offering someone a would you
do-
like a silk cut as you came in?
But
Yeah,
Ev, so
exactly.
we talk about obviously that how the industry's moved on and so on. In many ways, it's for the better, I guess, because of technology and transparency, or whatever. But in many ways, perhaps not. Do you think those old days of estate agency without portals and where it was about kind of creating deals, grafting, turning viewers into valuations and valuations into listings, actually having to kind of think and be proactive? Do you think they were better days for estate agents?
I think they were better in a lot of ways, but I also think in some of the models now that's coming back.
Well,
Because
the
I
old school
think
way of doing
the old
things.
school way of doing things is coming back. That's certainly what I kind of coach on and teach people on, because it works. And it's, building relationships with people that, they don't all just have to go and come from a portal.
Yeah, transactional. There's a person behind the keyboard.
It's relationship based rather than transactional, to coin that phrase. And I do believe that's coming back, certainly where we are.
Yeah, okay. So independent estate agent, where was it? Edinburgh?
That was in Glasgow.
Back
That
in
was
Glasgow.
yeah.
So what's next?
So went back into the kind of insurance side of things. I was an IFA, had my own business, and then I got married, and then I had 4 children within 5 years.
Wow.
So I decided that
Busy.
was quite, yeah. I mean, I say I didn't work. No, I didn't go to paid employment. I worked hard, but I was fortunate enough that I could stay at home, and that we were okay financially.
Can I just go back to you were working in the estate agency business as a mortgage broker.
Yeah.
You decided to open your own business. So how was that for the first time? You were thinking, right, I'm going to go entrepreneurial. I'm going to open my own. What was the tipping point there? Hierarchy again, or?
No, not so much hierarchy as just kind of being in charge of my own kind of future and my own destination, and not necessarily wanting to have to be in an office. At that point it was like 9 till 6, one late night, one weekend, and it didn't really kind of fit in with what I wanted in life.
No such
even
thing as
from
working
back
from
there.
home back then, was there?
No.
Well, when you go back to that, and it's probably fast forward to today as well,
Yeah.
Money behind you, you must have had so many sort of concerns, or was it right? No, I'm just going to take a leap, and what will be, because that's when we've discussed lots of self-employed entrepreneurs opening on their own. A lot of people stop and don't jump because they're concerned of where's my income going to come from. So back then, what was your thought process in opening your own?
Back then, I had moved back home because my dad had taken ill. So I thought, if I don't do it now, I don't have a mortgage, I don't have rent to pay. I'd sold a property, my own property. So I thought, I'm going to do it now, because if it doesn't work, then I've got nobody depending on me. It's just me. So that was the kind of catalyst then. It was the right time to do it for me, and taking the leap. I've never been frightened to take a leap. I probably, in some occasions, take the leap before actually thinking out where I'm leaping to.
Yes. Okay.
But it all worked out fine. It's all okay. And then I got married, had the
Ignore
kids.
that, by the way.
Okay.
Although so it might be a valuation.
That'll be the next person.
The next
Next
person.
victim. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
the
yeah.
next victim.
So Sandra, you moved back home with your kids.
No. This was I was in my 20s.
Oh, right, I
No,
see.
this was before I got married.
Okay.
And then got married, had the kids, and then stayed at home for a while. And then when the youngest went to school, I thought, nah, I want to get back out into business. I always just had a business head, and it wasn't so much a business head, but I just loved people and meeting people. So in my wisdom, I took on a gym franchise.
Gym franchise?
Yeah, because I was into fitness.
Gym, not gin.
Mainly gym.
I
Sometimes
think Russell's
gin.
got a gin franchise.
Yeah. And so I thought I'll combine the fitness and business. So I did that for a few years, and then
Successful?
It define success. It failed.
Did it make money?
No, so it failed me financially, but it helped a lot of people.
So you lost money?
I lost money. Well, actually, no, I got divorced, and then the gym wasn't sustaining me.
All around about the
financially.
same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that sounds challenging.
Yes.
So failed marriage, business not doing so well. Just talk us through that. How did that feel? And how old are you at this point?
How old was I? 2012. So I was
12 years younger than you are now.
12 years younger than I am now. Thank you, Russell. Yes, So I was mid-40s.
Right.
Yeah, I'm that old.
So you've got a lot on your plate.
I've got a lot on my plate. Yeah.
So how did you get through that then?
That's where the gin comes in, I think. That's probably how I got through that.
Gym
So
to
it was
gin.
the gin to gin. No, I had to make the decision that the gym wasn't serving me financially, so I walked away from I couldn't get out the franchise because, or if I had stayed, I couldn't have changed it to an independent gym.
Okay, you had to stay with the license.
Some franchises, it was the fees and everything were really high. So I walked away and I
just
left
shut
it. I left it to the manager who I had at the time. She took it over and ran it for a while. So I walked away and got a job, and hated that job for 12 months.
Back in property, or
No, it was a business development manager for Avon.
Okay.
I saw that on your LinkedIn. I was going to
Yeah.
say that you were an Avon lady.
Yes, well, I
would
was.
know it.
Yes,
Is that
I
where the
was an
door knocking
Avon
comes
lady.
from?
Well, it's a funny story behind that because when I got divorced, I thought I need to get a steady income because I've got 4 kids to feed. They were aged 11 to 6, 4 of them in between. Rent to pay, etc. And somebody said, "Oh, I'm sure you qualify for benefits and things like that." And I said, "I probably do." And I applied for benefits, and I got the benefit award through. And then at the same day that letter came through, I got offered a job. And what I could have got in benefits and what the salary was were exactly the same amount.
Really?
Wow.
And I had a decision to make of, do I take that or do I take the salary? Because obviously there was then bonuses, etc. to be made. Company car was involved. And I took the job. Primarily because I'm not the type I said earlier to sit
Stay
at
at home,
home
yes,
and,
yeah.
and,
Off
and
camera,
also I did not want my children to
So you wanted to set a good example.
I wanted to set a good example. I've got 3 boys and 1 daughter, and I wanted to set a good example that you work, you work.
Do they know
hard.
the story? That you
Yeah.
had that choice, you had
Yeah.
that fork in the road financially,
Yep.
where you could have not sat at home because obviously looking after kids, you're a homemaker,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
you had the opportunity, and obviously a lot of people with that opportunity, that decision, they go the other way. They think, well, this
Yeah.
is easy,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is the
yeah.
easy way out. But you took the hard way.
If I look at it as a hard way, for me it wasn't a hard way. It was, it was hard because you get school drop-offs, pickups, etc. So you have to, organise your day. So I'm really empathetic with people who are in that situation, moving forward to where we are now in the estate agency world. And then so I did that for a year, got my annual bonus and left. And I saw a role back in estate agency in a self-employed role, but for an online estate agent.
Okay.
And I went for it and I got it.
Was this Express
It was.
in Manchester?
Yeah.
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 Run by an ex-military guy, isn't it?
Yeah. And so I went down there, had my 2 weeks training. Obviously, I'd had the background before, so did that. And then I covered most of Scotland. It was kind of central belt down, and I did that for a couple of years. Although I was self-employed, my diary was always full. It was just that struggle of, family time and working. And
Because you're having to generate the leads, presumably.
no, they
Express
generated the
Field,
leads.
didn't it? Yeah.
Did it? Right.
Yeah, so literally they generated all the leads, but I was a lister. I wasn't an estate agent. I was out, sign up, leave, move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Didn't suit my values.
What, and the call
Didn't
centre
suit
then
me.
effectively would
Yeah.
do the viewings and the offers and then take the deal
Oh,
through?
no, they didn't do the viewings. No, the clients did the viewings.
Yeah.
I literally had to get. It was mainly stale
Like
listings.
the PB model at the time when it first came out, wasn't it? That the diaries are full,
Yep.
filled for you,
Yep.
and then
Yeah, just valuation,
get it on,
Yeah.
and then the portals effectively do the.
So
Yeah,
you didn't feel
the rest.
very fulfilled in that role then? Because you wanted to do the whole job?
I wanted to do the whole job, and I would have clients phone me and say, "If you came out to see me and blah blah blah, I haven't heard from you since." And it was kind of like, I couldn't. Well, actually, that's not the model, But I ended up getting involved as I probably shouldn't have. But it then kind of I was like, good money. I was earning good money. But again, not seeing the kids. The kids were a bit older by then, so they could be left alone before anybody phones social services that I left my kids alone. And I thought, no, do you know what? For the third night in a row, I couldn't get home for dinner. And it was like, Mum, what's for dinner? Yeah, it'll be a well-known pizza brand again for dinner. Something has to change. And I had seen a Keller Williams sign in a patch that I'd had quite a good bit of success down in Dumfries and Galloway. Who's this Keller Williams? And I literally Googled it.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, that sounds interesting. So I became an agent with Keller Williams.
So left Express, moved over.
Yeah, I had a couple of offers to go into work in traditional estate agency, but the problem was the hours. Again, I couldn't be in the office for 9. I couldn't stay there till 6.
You wanted flexibility.
I wanted flexibility. So me being me, I took the leap again. Yeah, let's set up our own estate agency. Brilliant. So that was in...
So you've got a history of taking leaps of faith in yourself here, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like, this is like a recurring theme.
And being the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, wanting to do things on your own terms.
Yeah, I think it's something I encourage other people to do, is to sometimes just take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
A lot of people go through life with fear and faith. Same thing, right?
But some people,
don't know.
But some people never take the risk because
of that fear.
Well, because
Yeah,
but in your situation, you've been in situations where it's challenging, so you know that actually the downside isn't that bad. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Which makes your propensity for jumping and taking that risk. You have a higher propensity, a higher tolerance for it. Many people, particularly in estate agency, I think. I mean, the majority. I was talking to somebody the other day about how many self-employed agents there are in Britain, and I think it's only
I
about
asked that question this morning.
again, and I think it's only 1,000. So out of 60,000 agents in Britain, only 1,000 are backing themselves properly. I would say. So there's therefore the vast majority, 59,000 of 60,000, that are sitting there well within their comfort zone. Now, it might be, and this might be a controversial point, many of that 59,000 probably aren't suited to self-employed agency because they're not perhaps self-disciplined enough, self-motivated enough. They're not,
They're
they
not
don't
the
have to get up and go.
networkers, they're not the communicators.
But there's certainly, what do you think, 10,000 of them, 20,000 of them that should be doing it. And look, can I just say, this is why we do this podcast, right? The reason we do this is to hear stories like yours that hopefully people that are watching and listening think, well, do you know what? I mean, no disrespect, Ev, you're not superhuman, are you? You're not wearing kind of
No, I
your
don't have a
underpants
cape.
over your trousers. You're not Supergirl.
No, that's
Although
on
you
a
did fly
Saturday
down here
night.
today.
That's
But
on a
that was
She did,
Saturday
I
night.
think in a plane.
Yeah.
No, but people should be watching and listening to this thinking, so she was single mum, 4 kids. She's, taken this leap of faith several times. Well, maybe I can do that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what this is about.
I mean, when 6 months after starting my agency, I can remember it was October 2018, and I had 4 pence in my bank account because obviously, you take time to build it up, and then you list, then you sell, and then time to complete. No petrol in my car. And it was a Friday night, and I thought, I can't do this. I just cannot do this anymore. I'm going to have to get a job. Now, I knew I had settlements coming in the week after, and then that was me off kind of thing in pipeline. And my friend sat me down and said, I'm going to give you £200 for this weekend so that you can feed the kids. And I know it sounds dramatic, but that's literally where I was at. And that's only 6 years ago. And I discovered that you could fill up your car at the pump without actually having any money in your bank account, because it took a few days
Days
then
to
to
go through.
register.
Oh.
Okay, so you didn't do a runner?
No, I put it in. It was when probably
Yes.
card at pump
Yep.
was kind of first introduced. So I managed to get my car full. I literally squeezed every drop in that petrol tank. And then through the weekend, I had really good people round about me who said, Ev, you've done the hard bit. You have done that first 6 months.
You've taken the leap.
Of literally taking the leap. You have built your business. You've now got referrals coming in. You've got recommendations. Stick with it. And I did. And I am so glad I did.
So you had listings, you had sales. Obviously in Scotland, things go through a bit quicker than they do in England and Wales, and with a bit more certainty. So you knew you had money coming.
Yeah.
But you're still in a pretty precarious position. I mean, not just, most people would be worried about that if they were on their own. But you've got 4 kids at home that you've got to feed. Wow, Chris, this is the clip, by the way, 4 pence in your bank account. And you soldiered on.
I did.
Wow.
I did. And the reason I did is because I believed I could do it. And the only thing that was going to stop me doing it was in my opinion, was taking the easy route. And, easy is not necessarily the thing that ultimately is best for you. So I soldiered on, but I had a lot of good people round about me. Mm-hmm. I had friends who were like, don't worry, we'll get you through it. But it was that £200 and the card at the pump that got me into then properties coming on and getting sold.
So you were an agent then?
Yeah.
And fast forward, you've gone from agent to market centre owner. So talk us through how that
regional owner, right? So you own the region. You own.
Well, I own all the
Scottish
licenses in
the
Scotland.
licenses for Scotland. Yeah.
The flower of Scotland.
Yeah. I'll take that. I'm the flower of Scotland.
Is that a thing? Is it? Is there a flower of Scotland?
It's a song. Would you like me to sing it, or will we?
If you could.
No, I won't sing that just now. You want listeners, you don't want to put them off. So there was a market centre as sorts in Glasgow, which is what I joined.
Because you joined, just for the benefit of those watching and listening to this, so you joined back in 2000, when? 17, 18?
Yeah.
So that's when KW
was
UK...
exploding, wasn't it?
Well, it was also owned by the Americans as such, wasn't it? It was being run from America, effectively. Yeah. So, okay. So I know we don't want to dig into the history, because obviously I've got history with Keller, which I'm not really allowed to talk about for legal reasons. But there is a history here in terms of, let's just say, some transitions that Keller Williams have gone through.
Yeah.
So obviously there was KWK. KWK is effectively no more. So let's just skip to the bit where you're running KW Scotland as a region, and effectively now you're reporting, inverted commas, even though you own the franchise, right? But your kind of your line of responsibility, if you like, goes directly now to the US rather than to a UK entity. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Is it better?
It is, because I have autonomy for the Scottish market. I can make decisions that suit our market. We were speaking earlier about we're a volume market. I have, people showing me figures about what people might earn, and it's based on average fees that our agents can only kind of dream about, because our average house prices are less. It takes less time to complete, and therefore you're doing many more transactions.
There's more volume.
I made the decision, or the decision was made for me by my agent leadership council, that we needed to change CRM system. So we did that. We went through a transition June, July of this year. It's hugely better, but that was, our decision to be able to do.
So it's now you doing things that you're telling the US, by the way, I'm doing this, rather than the US telling you what to do.
Yeah. The US will say, we don't know your market. You tell us what your market is like. You tell us what your market needs. And ultimately, it's like, okay, if you think that's what it needs, go and do it. It's not about getting permission. It's just about saying, this is what we're going to do. This is the way we're going to do it. It's still within absolutely the KW model in terms of the market centre, but it's adapting it to the Scottish market.
But you have ownership, and I think that's an important point. So you've got skin in the game, right?
Yeah, a lot of skin in the game. Yeah.
And how's it going in terms of, so obvious question, how many agents in Scotland? for KW?
So we've got 76 agents, 86 associates in total.
Yeah.
So we've
What's the
grown.
difference? Sorry,
Yes, I was gonna say.
So associate is maybe somebody that's taken on as admin.
Okay.
But they're they're counted in
Or
numbers.
a team member? You have teams?
Or a team member.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have teams. We have now 4 teams that are growing.
Yeah.
We have my team, which is Selling Scotland, which is I'll go back a bit with that. Last year, I broke my leg, and I had a kind of
Those
enforced.
gyms or gins.
It was gins. It wasn't gins.
Too
It was
many gins.
definitely gins. And high-heeled wedges. Do not wear high-heeled wedges.
I try and avoid
I know
them.
you
I
try.
try and avoid
I
them.
know it's again only a Saturday night, isn't it? But I needed something actually to change because I was on that hamster wheel and I couldn't get off it. And I actually did say, "Universe, give me a break." And it literally did. It literally did. Now, I know people think the universe, that might be woo-woo, but I believe in it. So 6 weeks in cast, and I thought I need to change the structure of this business. So I set up like a training team called Selling Scotland. So my team is that side of it.
Sounds like an offshoot of Selling Sunset on Netflix.
Yeah, absolutely. I just don't wear the high heels anymore. I don't wear the high heels or the short skirts. But no, so I changed that last year. So the associate number is kind of everybody that's maybe going through training, everybody that's in the team. But it's
86 feels like a success to me.
Well, I mean, let's translate that to context around the other self-employed models. Do you think that you, as KW Scotland, are the biggest self-employed business in Scotland in agent number terms?
Yes, we are.
And you were saying earlier you haven't lost an agent to any other self-employed model. So what's making KW Scotland so successful and so special?
One word: the leadership team. We have a base in Scotland. We have a leadership team in Scotland who are all had been successful.
So you've got Stephen Pye?
Stephen Pye.
Yeah.
I've just taken on Stuart Ferguson, who is ex-PB area director, hugely successful in what he did, loads of coaching skills. I've got a productivity coach, Heather Mortimer, who's got a background in lettings and buy-to-lets, etc. And I've taken on Christian up north. So when
Are you missing Andy Reid?
am I missing Andy Reid? Well, he's at Nested, so he's doing his thing at Nested.
I've got to ask you 1 or 2 horrible questions.
It's not a horrible question. It's not a horrible question. I mean,
I was wondering how you'd answer it.
Andy and I collaborated. That's why obviously we ended up with everybody, sort of being under the one banner as KW Scotland, and Andy decided to do his own thing with Nested, and
Still friends?
I don't really speak to him very much, but then I don't really speak
you've got
to
enough
very
people to
many
talk
people.
to.
Yeah, I mean, he commented on my recent engagement on
Did he? Oh,
Facebook,
good.
which was
I
lovely.
like Andy. I like Andy a lot.
I have. This is you're asking these questions, but I have no. I actually would encourage people in other models to be successful. Why?
Rising
because
tides.
exactly what you've said earlier, there's 59,000 people who could become self-employed. Not all are suitable, but why not give it a go?
Yeah.
Whether they join, Keller Williams or they join other models that are available, it's good for them.
Rising tides float all boats. It's true.
Absolutely.
And
But
when the tide goes out,
do you
you
know
get
who
to
it's most
see-
most importantly, in my opinion, good for? The client. That's that. I'm going back to the old-fashioned type of estate agency. You know who you're dealing with. You know your clients, and that's, I believe, in my passion, that's what a self-employed person can do, because you don't have the volume. You're not chasing listings. You've got that time to deal with the 4 or 5, 6, whatever your volume is. People that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Can I ask, when you we've had several of the self-employed models come and talk to us on the podcast, and most have agreed, apart from TA UK, because they pay an upfront, that it's going to take you probably 5 months before you earn any income. If I join KW Scotland as a fresh into agency or an experienced agent, when am I going to earn money in Scotland?
It's slightly less. I mean, it used to be 6 to 7 weeks, but now I would say it's about 10 to 12 weeks. that would then, your first kind of completion would come through. Some of them are a wee bit longer than that, but that would be the kind of minimum that you would earn. So when we take people in, we go through quite a rigorous financial, kind of questionnaire with them, to make sure that they are joining something that they know they're not going to, run out of money before they've even started. Don't do what I did.
Yeah, no 4p.
Don't get down to 4
But
pence.
I imagine you tell that story, don't you?
I
As
do.
part of the
I tell it as part of
induction.
my training.
Yeah.
But I also tell it in a positive way that, the hard work I'd done, I call it the tipping point. You get to a tipping point where you've done the actions, you've put in the hard work, and then the tipping point happens, and from there you should have a more regular income if you continue to do the actions. A lot of agents come on, get busy, get listings, and forget to do the things that they need to do, as in the lead generation. And go back to your point about 59,000 estate agents. Are they estate agents or are they listers? Do they get their own leads, or are their diaries filled? So there's it doesn't suit everybody.
No, it doesn't. Let's just go back to KW Scotland.
Yeah.
You're doing okay. You're in a good place.
Yeah.
What about the rest of Keller? Keller England, Keller Wales. I mean, it's not what it was. It's seen better days.
My remit is Keller Williams Scotland, so like they probably couldn't comment in my business, I can't comment in theirs because,
She
we
should
are
be a
in.
politician.
Yeah, definitely.
Great answer.
I don't like grey, but it's just the truth.
So you're just focused on what's
I'm
yours.
focused on Scotland. My passion is Scotland. We are a people, very proud people. And I think you asked the question about why we're successful in Scotland. And I believe it's because decisions are made in Scotland. The people are Scotland. We have a base in Scotland. If somebody's having I was going to swear there, shouldn't have done that. If somebody's having a rotten day, then they can come into the office and sit down, and they'll say, I'm coming in for a wee Ev chat.
How big is your market centre, and how often will you be in there? What's a typical day for Ed Foster?
So, well, it's 2 floors in a lovely Georgian building in the West End of Glasgow. So it's handy to get to. It's not in the LEZ, thank goodness. So people can get to it, even with old cars. A typical day, this week I've not been in the office at all because I've been training through in Edinburgh. I'm here. I'm at a network thing tomorrow. Some weeks I'm in there every day. I'm not a great worker from home.
Okay.
I like to go to work.
And you
pretty much.
encourage the team to come in?
Yeah, I mean, the leadership team are in the market centre, the agents, there's a training room, there's a conference room, they're in and out, there's a key, they can come in and out any time they want. Some come in at the weekend, but so it's always open. It's agent-centric, and I believe that people, after COVID, people are kind of gradually going back to, I quite like to go in and meet people.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to escape the children, to be honest, because if 2 of them are working at home, then, the Wi-Fi and the noise level can be a bit
Are all
much.
4 of your
them
kids, are
coming
they
to-
still at home, are they?
They're all
4 of
still
you?
at home. Yeah.
Any coming into the
Yeah.
business?
My belief is my daughter might, but she's only just turned 21. I think, when she's maybe kind of mid-20s, she's very sociable and kind of likes people, which helps in this business.
And what's next for KW Scotland? Next 2 or 3 years?
So we've started to open up little hubs throughout Scotland. I've got Christian who's developing out north. What's next immediately is I want to develop out Edinburgh. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of doing that at the moment because my partner lives in Edinburgh. So
Another Russell.
Oh, yes, another Russell, a Clark Russell, yes. I know the 3 Russells, right? So I'm back and forward, but I'd really like to find a person in Edinburgh to build that out for me in Edinburgh.
And house prices in Edinburgh, I understand, are extremely comparative to parts of London, aren't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the Edinburgh market will just continue to go that way. And it's a bit like, you take London out of the UK, house prices are down, right? You can't compare the stats. Take Edinburgh out of Scotland and it's a different then kind of house price. But we do it as a whole. But yeah, the Edinburgh market's really, really buoyant. Rental and sales, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, and a big recruitment drive to support that.
Yeah, we're doing a Thrive in 25 tour in January. So we'll be coming to a city near you. We're going to Edinburgh. We're having another one in Glasgow. We had a successful one 2 weeks ago. I'm going down to Dumfries and Galloway. I believe that's the area where I covered for Express. And our model works fantastically well along the borders and along kind of all the little towns. It's back to the day, being a local agent, but not having an office. You don't need that anymore, but having the base, just in Glasgow that you can come to.
And a belief in yourself, 4p in your bank account, and free petrol at Asda, Morrison's, or wherever it may be.
Well, it wasn't free. It made me overdrawn. I still had to pay for it, but it got my
It was
car
deferred.
full.
Yes.
It was
Deferred
deferred.
payment.
I like
Deferred
that.
payment.
It was
And
deferred.
if you've got the
yeah.
drive, you can make it happen.
I think it's about having the drive. It's about having the belief. It's about having the drive, and about knowing that, life is about, life is short, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to go through and think, oh, if only I wish I'd done that.
But you've got to challenge
Try
yourself
it.
sometimes. Sometimes you have to put yourself in scary situations.
yeah.
I still try and do that all the time.
Yeah.
Scary, but you improve
Definitely.
aspects of
Yeah.
your personality, business, character, or whatever as a
Yeah.
consequence. I think we have to do it.
And
More
you,
people should do it.
turn the kind of what, instead
against the
of,
wall, sometimes.
instead of, what have I got to lose? It's like, what have I got to gain?
Yeah.
And for me, single mum, 4 kids, for me, having time back was a really big thing to gain. And for a lot, this industry, unfortunately, has lost a lot of good, in particular women agents, because of inflexibility within the
Well, it's
working
coming back.
structure.
I mean, thanks to the self-employed model, and I guess
Yeah.
some employed businesses that allow that flexibility. But that's surely a good thing for women in a state agency.
Absolutely. I think, maybe contribute, but I think as an employer, if you don't allow that flexibility, you are losing good people. Because flexibility, as a woman with the kids and everything, if I worked 3 hours a day, you'd 6 hours of productivity, because that was really, really put into that 3 hours.
Intense, yes.
Absolute intense, focus, time block time for
Well, you probably
my
do the same
business.
amount of time, but you just choose when you allocate those hours. So if
Absolutely.
the kids go to bed when they're younger at 8 o'clock, well, then you might sit up for 2 or 3 hours and work.
Correct.
Whereas in traditional terms, it was all kind of pushed into this 9 till 6 window, even though actually your clients often are at work themselves.
Can't talk to them then, no.
So it kind of didn't make any sense, really.
Yeah, I would do catch up with clients after 8 o'clock at night.
When they're free and, exactly.
Because they've put their kids to bed.
Yeah.
They're now sitting down maybe with a glass of wine or, a gin or whatever, and they've got time to actually talk. So you've actually, again, got time to have that kind of feedback properly, and again, going back to the relationship building.
Yeah.
So, I think the self-employed model in particular for women works well. But of course, a lot of guys now, they've got childcare issues, and I'm not being it's all about women, but I still think our industry is a few years away from changing away from it not being dominated.
Well, I
by
think
men.
we've rehearsed with various other guests, particularly with people like Verona Frankish, where we talked a lot about women in senior positions in a estate agency. There certainly needs to be more women in senior positions. So, you're reflective of that. Verona's reflective of that. Alice Bullard we've had on and so on.
Yeah.
Does need to be more. What do you think holds women back from those senior positions?
I think part of the inflexibility of having these positions.
But do you think men hold them back?
I think, you used, I'm going to use there's still a lot of pale, male and stale
Yeah.
that will not shift from the traditional. That's the way it's always been done. And
But do you think it's men almost creating the glass ceiling, or do you think women psychologically think this is a senior part of the industry that's dominated by men, so it's not for me? Because those two are different things.
No, I'm the Scottish kind of rep for women in residential property, and I think it's the opportunities are not being presented to women to get to senior positions. So I do think that
Yeah, but you're in one.
I had to buy a business to become the senior person in the business.
Yes, good point.
I had to invest a lot of money to get to that. I mean, I'm not joking about it, but again, it's the flexibility of it. Now, was it an easier path? Absolutely not. It's been.
It was
do you
harder.
do you
Can I ask
remember
why you didn't invest in your own name? Why did you choose to partner with a franchise or take a franchise rather than invest Ed Foster selling Scotland?
So when I was I briefly took my business away from Keller Williams, and I had my own agency, and I had 3 or 4 self-employed agents that worked with me, and I had absolutely no model or structure or process.
Right.
So when I got offered the opportunity to open up Keller Williams in Glasgow, I thought, well, that gives me
Plug
the
and play.
model, it gives me the training, it gives me the structure to then actually take on more agents.
Right.
But it was still, our agents promote their own name. It's not actually about Keller Williams. We're just the platform.
Yeah.
We're actually the platform that then helps, Russell Jervis be, his own person, his own agent. But the way the kind of it's gone in Scotland is that we are now, Keller Williams Scotland is quite well known. The boards are up.
Yeah.
The names are on the boards, the photos are on the boards, but people will now recognise the KW sign.
So it's as much, if not more, about the personal brand of the agent, with the KW thing being almost a crutch, the
Training
backdrop.
platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the way it should be. Because it's people deal with people. So we are literally the platform to help people build their own brand. And that's the bit I like about it. If I'd stayed in my own business, I would have had a ceiling on that as well. I would have kind of had because not everybody then would want to join my business, but they can come in self-employed, make their own targets, make their own hours, and have the back. If somebody wants to do one sale a month, that's maybe just what they want to do.
Yeah.
We've got, our successful agents are coming in and they're now building teams and getting up to volume, which are then, they give then valuations to their team and they're building that. But equally, we have people that they just want to do one a month.
And your agents are making money? Are you making money?
Yeah. I mean, I've got slightly more than 4 pence now in my bank account. But in seriousness, I mean, I've reinvested money into the business when it became kind of Keller Williams Scotland. I reinvested money in the business. I've never lost my drive or my passion. If that goes, I think that's when the whole thing
But
goes.
there's no sign of that by the looks of it.
Not at
No,
all.
my passion is for bringing people in, training them, coaching them, mentoring them, and getting them to have a life that
And
they
you can
want
see
to
yourself getting to 200-300 agents?
250 by the
That's the goal.
by the 250 we've put down by the end of 26.
Fantastic.
So I could put that as a vision for 25, but you've got to have big goals, but also realistic goals. But I would be going for 250.
Well, I have no doubt you are going to thrive in 2025. Thank you so much for coming down today, flying down this morning
Thank you.
for the pod. Safe travels back. That's it, Russell.
Thank you for having me.
Another inspirational woman.
Yeah, incredible story. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah.
So,
You're
Seriously,
very
thank you.
welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
that's right. That's it. Episode 19, episode 20 coming up very soon, where we will be talking to an agent who has not got a self-employed model, running traditional high street branches, and we'll hear all about that story in episode 20.
And guess what his name is?
Yes, the third Russell on the
It's going to be probably the world's first ever 3 Russells podcast.
throstle, if that's a
The
word.
throstle of Russells.
But Ev, thank you very much.
Thank you,
So
Ev.
all I've got to say is it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.